Good morning, Lydia Martin. How are you this morning?
Good morning. I'm as bright as the sun today. We have some
Oh, I thought you were
breakthrough. So,
bright as
hello.
bright as a button the last time I checked, but bright as the sun is okay. I'll let you get away with it.
Thanks.
Oh, this morning we are on a wonderful subject. It is a huge one, and we're just gonna skim the surface a bit. The whole idea of the whole sphere of neuroscience, and we want to talk through this morning. We're going to talk through very specifically the idea. Let's call it the idea um, of how we learn and how we get to know. Because learning is an embodied process. It's not a disembodied exercise that we go into, and so we are looking there at the screen. It gives us number 9, which is knowledge of a 6E cog psi. 6E, the words, each of the 6 words start off with E in cognitive science. And COG stands for cognitive and SCI science. Cognitive science is the whole faculty, the sphere of studying how we get to know. What maximizes knowing? How do we get to know? How do we imbibe knowledge? And so it's a fascinating area. It really has to do with how the brain works, the left and the right hemisphere. And both you and I, Lydia, over these days have been looking at how we can use um, this fractal trajectory of order, disorder, and reorder, how to use that in order to assess where somebody is at in their growth stage. And that's why this morning we want to look at how people come across in terms of what they know or what they think they know. Okay? Because a lot of us think we think. Many of us would rather die than think, and many do. So let's tease this out a bit. And maybe we'll just look at one of them this morning. At the moment, let talk to us. You are busy studying a particular thing. Talk to us about that thing a bit, and then let's play with it.
Hmm. Yeah, I find myself, it's, if I think about it at its core, it's an extension of what I've been doing in the profession of education as a high school educator. It's equipping, the attempt was to equip myself with other skills, right? Um, and so this focus now is on adults, and they use the term facilitate because everyone learns differently. And so they provide the framework from a South African point of view um, as to how to accommodate everyone within the South African context to access skills and learning. And from
Mhm.
whatever the idea is, whatever level you're at, that you still have the opportunity to get in to a program, a learning program to upskill. So that's what I'm busy with.
And
That's what I'm trying
it's
to navigate here.
basically you're doing it in terms of a distance learning kind of model,
Yes,
right?
yes, yeah,
Um,
yeah,
and talk to us about how you're finding that. Just some very
yeah. I think
grassroots observations.
yeah, just some things right in the onset. It's very overwhelming. It's a lot to do in terms of content, and what makes it so overwhelming is the time frame. Um, being a mom of a little one, being a wife, also having the opportunity to do this full time, but while you have other responsibilities, makes your time quite precious. And so having to navigate all of this content that I have a year to get through, and on top of that, some other responsibilities really makes it quite overwhelming. So with that in mind, now I find myself also it's it's separated. The compartments I'm finding, I'm struggling to understand. I mean, even you can hear how I'm trying to articulate it, to grasp it fully, because I feel out of what I'm studying. I don't feel that I'm, you know, uh, um,
You're not
fully
inside of what you're
engaged with it.
learning. Yes,
That's it.
yes,
Yeah,
yes.
yeah,
Now,
yeah.
now, now that's a good bridge right there, because the way we get to know something is by embodying that thing. The way we get to know things has to do with embodiment. My whole being is involved. Now you are engaging with it in a disconnected kind of way. It's remote and it's purely for the head, right? But the most effective way to get to know that stuff is to be right inside of it, right? In a real life situation. And so you're trying to articulate a struggle that we have in Western culture and we have in school culture. And believe it or not, we have it in church culture as well. Same struggle. Learning things, but things that are disconnected from reality. They're not inside of what is really real. They are in spaces that are simulacrums of reality. They are, call it make believe spaces. They aren't real because you're not dealing with the real thing in real time in the real world. You're dealing with what is so called real in unreal time, in an unreal world, in a synthetic kind of context. So let's tease that out a bit. Let's talk about that. For you, Lydia, how do you most effectively learn?
Oh, definitely in the throngs of what I'm doing. Engaging with people, talking things through, and being challenged on it, actually doing it, and not only learning from the experience, but then gaining skills and knowledge and everything else to do whatever it is I'm doing. I mean, I've done that I think, in terms of my sporting, and what makes it so attractive is I'm busy with it. And then because that's exciting, I know I don't have all the knowledge. So now I have to connect with people that do know. And, all of those components that go together, and you are able to execute the skill, or at least attempt to practice it. So I really think kind of getting into the throngs of it, for me, has definitely always been, if I think about it, the way to do it, the way that I think I've been learning, best learn.
And yet, when we look at our school model and even the edification model that is supposed to be part and parcel of the life of the assembly, they're exactly opposite to what it ought to be in the context of what is really real, in the context of relationships, versus we sit in straight rows, we study the back of each other's necks, and one person is pontificating 24/7. And we think that we are learning optimally in that way. And yet, it ain't happening because you watch what low skill we have when it comes to relating and dealing with people. Then you know something is, there's a monkey dead on the line, isn't it? Relating to my child, relating to my husband, my wife, those around me. Somehow my relational skills are what is lacking. And if we're saying that that is directly tied to the proportionality of encountering, learning in the context of living, boy, then we're sure missing it, aren't we?
Mm.
Just a thought,
Yeah,
just a thought,
yeah,
because that
yeah.
raises a lot more questions and gets the worms to crawl all over the place. The school education comes into it. Schooling, let's say schooling comes into it. Our whole concept of schooling. And yet you've got a little one and you are figuring that the way that child learns optimally is in the context of life. I mean, we watched it the other day. Talk to us about that experience about taking a fishing. What were your observations?
Oh, yes. So it was a party, and it's amazing how you don't even have to do much. The activity was to allow them to, they had like a little pond there, and the fish were there. So the bait, it was easy for the kids to catch fish. And it's amazing. They just want to do, they want to be part of. And as you are guiding them, hold here, do this, you know, They in real time figuring out there's things going on,
And she caught a fish,
right?
right?
And you just go, yeah, and that fish hooked, and it was like, okay, now reel it in, okay, now do that, and it's just like, all coming at you, but you're working through it. It was quite an experience for her.
Now it's amazing. We think, oh, it's such a schlep because now I have to pay money. I have to make the time. I have to be there. That's
Mm.
the other thing. I have to be
Yeah,
on the ground and
yeah.
watch the excitement of a 2+ year old, um, getting all excited and masking a little, maybe a little skittish
Yeah.
initially, having to touch the slimy fish. It's like,
Mm.
what is this? But there are memories that the child will never forget
Mm.
because those become embedded. But let's talk very, very briefly about embodied learning because that's what embodied learning is all about. It's being in the moment, right? Being in the situation, being if I could even say, call it on the job, being deeply dependent on the physical body and its interactions in the environment. You could have coached Lydia, I mean, Isla, uh, in your lounge and say, sit down, Isla, today I'm going to teach you how to catch a fish. Well, number one, there's no water. Number two, there's no fish, right? But you're going to teach her how to catch a fish. Now you've taken her swimming. Talk to us about the swimming experience because
Mm.
there's an embodied
There's
experience.
another one. Yeah, yeah. I mean, just everything from getting them, you need to be in it and used to what's going on. If I think of how small she was very young. I think she was about one, maybe even before, and already experiencing what it was like to be with you in the water. And then it was all associated with songs and stories and games. So it was the fun activity, the language that's coming through, the movement of the body, and all of that having a purpose to getting them used to water, to getting them to understand that they're associating what their bodies are doing in water, which has a function of balance, floating, kicking, swimming, all of those things, but it's fun and it's experiencing what to do, and they're learning so much about it. I mean, seeing now what she can do is putting her head underwater and slowly learning that I'm holding my breath, that I don't open my mouth and breathe in, otherwise I'm going to breathe in water. I mean, that's you learn swimming by doing swimming. So even to think of that, that's why I think sport is so awesome, because you learn a sport by doing the sport, by engaging with the sport, by breaking it down and experiencing it and getting in there. So I it's confounding to me, actually, if you think about it, like you say, that the worms start to crawl. When you start to break down why we've separated these things of theory and practice, when there are certain things in life that you are seeing with your own eyes, that you need to be in it, you need to be engaged with it, you need to be connecting. It's mind blowing.
Yeah, and we
When
do
we're saying we're
exactly
not
the
computers walking around, yeah.
yeah. We learn the stuff how to do it from books, and then when once we close the books, we do exactly the opposite,
Yeah, yeah, that's
isn't
true.
it?
That's
And we
very
say,
true.
yes, yes, we learn on the job. That's the best way of learning now. Once you shut the book or
Mm,
the bell rings, the brain switches off, man, and you
yeah,
become comatose, and you
yeah.
do exactly the opposite.
Mm,
And isn't it true, Lids, that when you listen to somebody talk or pontificate about a particular thing, you very quickly figure out that this person has been there and done that. Versus this one doesn't have a cooking clue. This one is shooting the breeze. Have you ever figured that one? You can actually catch a person out very quickly. Oh no, this is a lot of theory. You have not walked there.
experience that.
But
Yes,
you're talking
definitely.
like one who's walked there because you've read it up in a
Mm,
book.
mm,
And
yeah.
embodied cognition, embodied learning is about being in that moment and being there on the spot and learning from what it means to bait the hook and to throw the hook into the water and to feel the tug on the line of something on the other end and to start reeling in. And there you go.
Mm. I just want to, I want to share a quick little moment also. And I think we think maybe I'm in the privileged stage of her still being new to things, and I can also be in control as the parent teacher. So I'm able to control and maneuver some of this learning. But we had a moment yesterday with one of her friends. We went to go and visit, and we were making we were decorating cookies with icing. And I mean, she's 7 months, and her friend is now 10, and I'm watching the 10-year-old engage. And the mom wanted to show her, here, let me show you just an example of how best to do this. But she was adamant, no, I don't want you to show me. I want to do this. And I
And
laughed.
you,
I said to the mom, I'm laughing because I'm thinking my 2-year-old is doing it because she's two. And
mm,
she's experiencing the world and the power. So I've gotten used to that. But the reality is you don't lose it. That child is 10 and
mm,
she's still saying, let me do it.
mm,
Let me engage. Because why? Were all the cookies the way she wanted it? No.
mm.
Did yes, mom assist? Oh, let's try this one. You figure it out. It didn't mean you totally step back and kind of put your hands up in the air and said, but there was still this thing of like wanting to engage and let me figure it out. This is what it feels like. It's too watery. It's too thick. It's not the right color. How am I going to move it? Oh, okay, that didn't work. Let's try it again. So it's I laughed at her and I said they still want to do their thing, whether they two or whether they 10.
Mm.
They're
And let them
exploring,
be.
they're engaging. Yeah, yeah.
Let them be. So one quickly assesses somebody's growth level, transformation growth level. Just there's something that strikes your ear when somebody who knows what they are talking about experientially, what they sound like versus somebody who just knows in a bookish kind of way. It lands on your ear very differently. This person knows what they're talking about. They've been there, they've done that. And they got the t-shirt to show versus one that just
Mm,
says, well, there's no t-shirt, but I know. I know that I know that I know. And it affects the way you imbibe information because the way you get it is the way you're going to give it. If you've been given it by rote, you will tend to give it off by rote because
can
you
we
actually don't know the process of how to get it and how to give it.
Yes, I was just going to say that becomes, I think, your tester. You can see, because you might say, okay, you've given me a scenario, you're textbook savvy, right? But can you show me what that looks like in this scenario and do it without what you were taught, what you can recall from the textbook? Because you're just saying now, do you understand the process of doing it? Do you hear what
Yes,
I'm trying to
yes.
say? I don't know
No,
if I.
exactly
So
right.
I think,
Exactly
and
right.
that's how because even me and this friend yesterday were talking about the struggle of learning, and she was just saying she's come to learn now so much more as an adult, which I agreed with her. We both had different experiences at high school. We weren't learning. We weren't learning how to learn at high school. That's not that wasn't the goal of school, it seems.
Mm.
And only now as adults, you kind of were thrown into things to go, well, now I have to figure this out while I'm busy with it, which is almost, you don't want to say it's too late, but goodness, there was so much more I could have done
Oh, so
when I
much
was
more
younger, so I
exciting
could be more
stuff.
effective, when I'm
That's
older.
right.
And that's
It's a
exactly what you're saying in terms of process. I think that's what embodied learning does. It helps you with process, doesn't
it
it? Help you
does.
to
It does.
understand how it, yeah.
And it gives you context. It gives you tangibility. All your senses get involved. Versus now you must just be awake. As long as you're awake, you're okay. Well, that is just
It's
such a
more than
small
that.
part of it. What about
Mm,
engaging in it?
mm,
And I think this has a lot to say with how we are socialized,
mm,
how we socialize in the believing community, how we socialize in the assembly, how we socialize inside of a family, how we socialize in school, and then beyond as hopefully responsible citizens. Can you now see how that citizenship comes into it? And you wonder why we
mm,
are so doff relationally because we don't know, we can't even think our way out of a brown paper bag. Don't even ask about relating out of that brown paper bag. That is too much.
mm.
Um, but if we get messed up so early, we mess up our kids far too early, I think, by putting them into these cookie cutter factories called school. And now you get some idiots piping up, oh no, but went to a private school, or I went to this school, to that school. And just the nature of the animal already says something that you haven't thought further than your nose, man. But
Mm.
you see, once you get enlightened, once you see this, it's hard to figure out why others can't see it, right? Because
Mm.
it has to do with level of transformation. And your level of transform will get you to see things quite differently. But we only learn that, I think, through the school of very, very hard knocks. Not just hard knocks, very hard knocks. Because some things are hard to learn.
Yeah.
Because they are context determined. And as we said this morning, embodied. So at another time, we will need to pick up, just talking through the other five, knowledge is not only embedded, it's embodied, it's enacted, it's extended, exapted, emoted. Oh man, it's just an exciting area to talk into. But it's not stuff we're unfamiliar with. We are actually very familiar with it, in the sense that um, learn while you earn is a very strong concept.
Mm.
Get into an internship because you learn while you
Mm.
earn.
Apprenticeship. Yeah.
You're on the job. You're in the
Mm.
situation. You're getting your hands dirty. The apprentice mechanic is feeling the oil oozing over his fingers,
Mm.
you know. Uh, and then just for life skills, how do you navigate a relationship? Well, if you've not been taught how to learn, then you wonder why we struggle in relationships. Well, it has its challenges, Liz. I'm not saying the
Mm.
challenges all go away just because you're growing smarter. But we will pick up this in a totally different series of episodes, I would think. 6E Cogs I. We've just touched on embodied knowing. You need to be inside of the space to smell, to feel, to think, to listen, and all that goes with it. Any closing comments, Lydia, as we close off here?
No, I think it's just something that I realize is we're trying to, a schooling system is synthetic, and we think that the syntheticness of simulation is good enough,
Mm.
and that's not nearly enough. It's
Yep,
not, and we've
because it's
bought
not.
into the lie that we think that's
Yeah,
the only way to do it, or it's the best way to do it because everybody is doing it. I
yeah,
think it's
yeah, and we may be heading for such a surprise because of AI. AI is smashing every little casket we've got, mental casket that we've created. Because here we have an LLM, a large language module, right? A large language model that can think for us without me having to do some of the thinking, at least in terms of facts, right? And in a split second, I can have it. Well, is that learning? You see, so it's getting us to rethink school. And I love the thinking that's coming outside of the box because now there's almost no box anymore. And it's creating a lot of tension, a lot of fireworks too. A lot of people are going to lose a lot of money across the next couple of decades if they don't transform in terms of how they do this thing. So, yeah, we'll pick up at another time, Liz, but thank you for your inputs today. I think it's encouraging just to know that we can talk about this. We have freedom to dialogue around it. So you enjoy the day and have a good one.
thank you again for another special day, and yeah, you too. Have a good Thursday.
Will do. Goodbye for now.
Cheers.